Hello? Hello? Anybody out there? Welcome to Mentor Mondays. We are back for another session. Anybody out there live? Say hello. What's up? Where are you tuning in from? Can you guys see me? Can you hear me okay? We are live with Mentor Mondays. Anybody out there? Let's see. We also have a live poll going, you guys. Let's see. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to Mentor Mondays. Anybody there? Where are you guys tuning in from? Good evening. Welcome to Mentor Mondays, where you will get all of your questions answered. Where are you guys tuning in from? Can you hear me okay? Can you see me okay? Hello, good evening. Welcome to Mentor Mondays. Anybody out there? Put in the comment box, the chat box. We're gonna kick it off. We also have a live poll going, you guys. The question reads, is becoming a doctor worth the amount of time it takes? So including the education and training. We know it's a long, long, long road. What do you guys think? Is it worth it? Yes, no? Are you still unsure? Are you trying to figure it out? If you're undecided, is this road worth it? Tap into the poll. Let us know. What do you guys think? Is the road, the long road to becoming a doctor worth it these days? It takes a minimum of 12 years to become a doctor, you guys, including undergrad, medical school, all of the years and residency training, a minimum of 12 years, minimum. Do you think that's worth it in this day and age to become a doctor? Tap into the poll. Let me know. What do you guys think? Yes, no? Are you still unsure, undecided? That might be why you're here, figuring out if medicine is right for you, if going to medical school is right for you. Let me know what you guys think in the poll. We have some pretty interesting results as of right now. So the majority says yes, it's worth it. It's over 70%. The other, coming in next is undecided. So almost 30% of people who voted are undecided if the road to becoming a doctor is worth it. This is really, really interesting results. So where are you guys tuning in from? Leave a comment, a live chat. Where are you tuning in from? We are here live, Mentor Mondays. Say hello. Hello to you all. If you can hear me, see me okay. And we'll get things started, you guys. It's been a month. We do Mentor Mondays monthly, and it's already been a month. This is crazy. We are on our third month in the series, Mentor Mondays. So I started this, 2 months ago, where I come on live, once per month and answer all your questions about college, undergrad, grad school, gap years, MCAT, medical school, anything you guys want to know, any burning questions you have, I answer them here live. So this is totally for you and what you need. Hi, Miss K. Thank you. You can see me and hear me okay. Tuning in from Charlotte, North Carolina. Shout out Charlotte, North Carolina. Hi, Greg. Good evening. Okay, I'm glad you guys can see and hear me okay. We're living in a virtual world, but that doesn't mean we all know, that there's blips that we hit, obstacles in the road. So our live poll going on right now in the chat box is, I asked the question, is becoming a doctor worth the amount of time it takes these days and age? So the education and training time. So it's a minimum of 12 years to become a doctor. The majority says yes, over 75%. Some folks are now saying no, some are still undecided. So very interesting results we have here. Hopefully, any questions you guys have about the journey to medicine or medical school or anything required of you, you can ask here tonight. I am here for you. I'm here to answer any questions you have about anything in the process. So this is totally for you. Start shooting your questions away if you have any. This will be a 1-hour session. So we're going to keep firm to the 1-hour deadline. So if you have questions, start shooting them in the chat, and I'll take them in the order that they come. If not, I have questions that folks submitted to me or that have been commonly asked on my YouTube videos. So I will answer those if there's no questions in the chat box. Hey, Lamar, shout out to Lamar Jackson in the chat. He is one of my mentees. And yes, I will also now mention. So I have my official mentorship program that I officially started, because I'm always asked about if I take on new mentees or if I, can mentor individuals. Absolutely. So I started my mentorship program officially. You can go to the description box below, or you can go to my website, thejuliacarter.com/rising-stars, and check it out. It offers you one-on-one individualized support. We do monthly workshops, such like Mentor Mondays, but going more in depth into really detailed topics and workshops about things that you need to know on the journey to medicine. I also offer advising one-on-one sessions about MCAT, general advising. Interview season is coming up for anyone who is interviewing for medical school, grad school, whatever the case may be, nursing school, whatever. So I also offer mock interviewing sessions. So please check out my website if you are interested in any type of mentorship, or if you have any, additional services that you are interested in. All the details are on my website. So kicking off Mentor Mondays, you guys, any questions? Please put them in the chat box below. I'll answer them in the order that they come. So you guys are my priority who are here listening live. So if you have any questions, please shoot. If not, I will start answering questions that I have that were submitted. We also still have our live poll going on. Is becoming a doctor worth the amount of time it takes, the education and training? We all know that the road to medicine is a long one. So it's always a fine line with individuals who want to become doctors or who think they have an interest in medicine. Is this worth it for me? The time it's going to take, how many years of my life is going to be required of me, the money it's going to take. So these are very important considerations that an individual should make before they take the deep dive into a career in medicine, especially these days, because there are a lot of great alternative healthcare careers, you guys, and I cannot stress that enough. Although I myself am, coming to the end of my medical school training and I will soon be a doctor, I always suggest to my mentees, to individuals who are interested in medicine, to please explore alternative careers such as physician assistant school, PA school, nursing school, any other type of healthcare professionals, nurse practitioner, these other healthcare careers that will ultimately satisfy the same goals for a lot of people, but require a lot less time training and, a lot less responsibility, to be honest. So it's definitely worth exploring before you make the commitment to a career in medicine. So Ezekiel, welcome. He asks, what kind of internship or volunteer experience are medical schools looking for? Great question, Ezekiel. So this goes to the overarching theme of what makes a good applicant, right? When applying to medical school, what are medical schools looking for? And this is where I advise students in general to be very well-rounded. So generally, medical schools are going to want to see in an applicant that they are well-rounded. So that would include things such as obviously good grades first and foremost. So GPA and MCAT, I cannot stress enough to make sure you are as competitive as you possibly can be in those aspects. Then comes extracurricular activities, which would include things such as your involvement in clubs, what else you did volunteer-wise and all of that. I would say one handful or less of activities, one handful or less. You want to show that you have not only had multiple experiences, so one handful or less, you guys. If you are like me and you run into the issue of being overly involved, unlearn those behaviors, unlearn that, because quality over quantity. I cannot stress that enough. Quality over quantity when it comes to the things that you are involved in for medical school applications. So less than 5, extracurriculars or organizations that you're involved in, 5 or less. And I would say that you should be able to show that you have had a longitudinal commitment to those organizations. They do not have to be science or medicine related, but you do want to show that you have maintained your commitment and your participation in those organizations for a long period of time. Not only that, but you want to try to kill multiple birds with one stone. So you should also be longitudinally being involved in those activities, seeking leadership positions. So if there's an opportunity to serve on an executive board, if there's an opportunity to be, a secretary, president, vice president, absolutely, try to be strategic in picking organizations that you not only will be able to show commitment to for the long haul, but that you can work your way up to some sort of leadership position. So I don't have any advice as far as like what exact clubs or anything you should be involved in, but I would say make yourself well-rounded. If you have an interest in music or science or whatever, pick different organizations. You want to show that you're not just all about one thing, although medical school might be the goal, you want to show that you have other interests and other passions that can get your time as well. So I would say 5 or less, be holistic, be well-rounded, participate longitudinally in those organizations. Also try to find leadership positions within those organizations. Also, when it comes to internship or volunteer experiences, I would say, however, out of those 5 or less, try to get your hands on something clinical, you guys. I'm not a super big fan of shadowing. I know that we all have to do it or we all have done it at some point, but I do think that there's much better uses of your time as far as in the clinical space to get clinical exposure. So if you could do things like working or volunteering in a clinic where you are, even if you're pushing papers or doing the recycling or something, sometimes you get better hands-on experience as long as you're in the space than you do shadowing. There's often you're not even touching patients or really seeing a lot shadowing. So I would say just try to get involved in something clinically. So hopefully that answered a little bit of your question, Ezekiel. But I would just say try to commit to a few different things, be well-rounded, pick a few different areas of aspects or specialties or whatever, and then stay in those things longitudinally. Try to get leadership positions. I think those are very appealing to medical schools. Biggest tips for first-year med students right now, Catherine asks. Congratulations to all the new first-year medical students, you guys. I know it's been a long road. I know it's probably very overwhelming right now. So welcome to the big leagues. Welcome to, the ocean before you're probably just treading water in a lake somewhere, in a river somewhere. But yeah, you're in the big leagues now. So congratulations to you for that accomplishment. What I would say for first-year medical students is be open to figure it out. You know what I mean? We in medicine, no matter our personality, we are type A people to be in this field, regardless if you're more shy, if you're more outspoken, whatever the case may be. If you're in this field, you have a certain character traits about yourself. We can be very like type A, very on our things, very, scatterbrained sometimes if things aren't going our way. So I would say be open to failing, be open to adjusting to medical school. It is not easy. It's unlike anything you've probably ever experienced before as far as the rigor of the academics and how much material is being thrown at you at one time. So be open to adjusting and not having it all together right now. It might take you weeks or months, even a full year, the full first year to figure it out and figure out how you're going to study, how to take the test, how to digest all this information. So just give yourself grace and give yourself space to not have it all together right now, and know that and be confident in your knowledge and your skill and what's gotten you to this point, that you will get there if you're not there yet. So I would say stay the course. You're here for a reason. You made it this far for a reason. So you're going to have good days and you're absolutely going to have bad days. never forget why you're here and why you chose medicine to get you out of those bad days and keep going, keep going the next day. But you guys got this. Congratulations again to all the new first year medical students. It's going to fly by, trust me. So, so embrace it. Enjoy the step you're at and just, keep working hard. Hi, Martina. Hi, Martina. Welcome. Welcome to Mentor Mondays, you guys. So this is our live monthly session where I answer all questions live that you guys have about college, MCAT, med school, anything in the journey to get you to medicine. I also have a live poll question going right now in the chat. So click your answer. I ask, is becoming a doctor worth the amount of time it takes? The education and the training, a minimum of 12 years, you guys. 12 years minimum. Is that worth it? Do you guys think that's worth it? Yes, no? Are you unsure? Are you undecided? Are you here because you're trying to figure that out if it's the career path for you? Let me know. Let me know what you guys think. Also, be sure to check out my official mentorship program, Rising Stars. I recently launched it. If you are looking for mentorship, if you are looking for a group of individuals who can support you and guide you on your journey to medicine, check out my program, you guys. We do really involved, one-on-one advising with you guys. We host monthly sessions about all things in medicine that will relate to your journey. I meet one-on-one with every student, help you with anything you need. You have my phone number, all of that. Around the clock access to me as your mentor. So be sure to check out my program if you feel as though I could benefit you as a mentor. Some of my mentees are even in the chat right now. So if you have any questions, be sure to drop a question about the program. I will answer it, or maybe even my mentees can chime in and answer it. So that goes to Miracle's question. Hi, can you clarify what exactly counts as clinical experience? Okay, good question, Miracle. So what I would classify as clinical experience is, so it's kind of double layered. So you have experiences in the clinical space that maybe jobs or whatnot that aren't necessarily clinical, but you're in the clinical space. That would be things such as like secretarial duties. So if you're working at a hospital or a clinic or an urgent care, but you are the receptionist, you might be a volunteer, secretary or something, but you're exposed, you're in the clinical space where everybody knows, or if you aren't aware, just being in a clinical space is absolutely valuable and absolutely worth it because you absorb what's in your surroundings, no matter your responsibility or your job title, right? So there's jobs like in a clinical space, volunteer work or actual employment in clinical settings. Then you have actual clinical experiences where you are actively getting clinical experience. So those would be jobs such as like medical assistants, phlebotomists, nursing assistants, things like that they are directly working with patients in a clinical setting. You can also find a variety of volunteer work or internships with clinical experience as well. So those are like the distinctions I'd like to make, because a lot of people think that you just have to get those opportunities that are like the clinical experience. You have to be a medical assistant or a nurse before, or you need to find an internship where you're actually getting your hands on patients. And while, yes, I do think that of the hierarchy, those are the most coveted. Those are going to be the most valuable as selling yourself as a potential medical student. Do not underestimate those opportunities and, those opportunities, those employment opportunities, those volunteer experiences that may not be clinical inherently, but are in the clinical setting, because it is those people that have, the most exposure, that when there's a learning opportunity, if a doctor or someone is walking by and they're like, hey, can you help me with this? You're going to be on the front lines to help, right? You're already in that setting. So that is the distinction I make. And hopefully that's a little more clear. But if you have any further questions or if that's unclear, let me know, and I'll try to make that distinction a little bit more. But that is what I would classify as like clinical experience, the jobs in clinical setting or volunteer work, or also the opportunities to actually be touching patients and getting your hands dirty as far as in medicine. So hopefully that's clear. But please do not underestimate both. These are overall, I think you should try to get some sort of clinical experience, whether it's actually touching patients or just being in the clinical setting. As a pre-med student, sometimes it's very hard to be in positions to actually touch patients. It's a liability for hospitals, for clinics, to have individuals who aren't at the trainee level, at the medical trainee level, to be having their hands on patients. So it's tough. It's tough. So don't undersell those opportunities to just be in the setting, to be in the clinic, to be, around doctors and nurses who are the people who you want to learn from. So that's the distinction I'm trying to make. Serenity asks, what do you think you can do during high school mentally and physically to help prepare you for undergrad and later on medical school? Great question, Serenity. So across the board, I think that something that individuals can do at really any level before medical school is really start to build up like tough skin, you guys. That's something I'm realizing now in medical school. I'm working on dropping my new vlog of my last week as a medical student. And for the first time in my entire medical school career, I actually cried while I was working, on the floor in the hospital. I had to step away and go cry. Usually I have never had that happen to me in the medical setting. Usually, if I've had a bad day, I came home and I was upset, or I vented to my support system. But that was the first day in which I had to actually step away from my responsibilities for 5 minutes and go and cry. And it was really tough. It was really tough for me. And it's happened at multiple points along the way, but and I feel like I'm a tough person too. So it's just, I would learn to build up a tough skin. Be confident in yourself. If you're not a person that has, extremely high self-esteem or confidence, or self-confidence in your knowledge, in who you are, build that up. Work on becoming the best you and the most confident you, because medicine has a tendency to break us down and really test us mentally and physically and all of that. So you want to be as strong and resilient before you get here, because you do not want to have it break you down or break your spirit once you're here, which happens to a lot of folks. So I would say just work on being, as confident and resilient as you can. Be open to experiences that test you, that cause you to fail and have to get back up, that challenge you. A lot of people come into medical school that have never been challenged in their life before, and it's culture shock, So embrace opportunities to test you in different ways, because medicine is going to test you in different ways that you may have not been tested before. So it's better to come in with a bit of a tough skin. Also, learn how to now, wherever you're at in your journey, learn how to advocate for yourself, you guys. And I mentioned this in a lot of my YouTube videos because, in medicine, like I was just talking about with the poll, is it worth it all the time in training and education to become a doctor, a minimum of 12 years? Those are 12 years that people are not the nicest to you, that you are getting yelled at, you are being called incompetent, not smart enough. How did you get to medical school? How did you get through the cracks? This can break you down, So find a way to build yourself up and advocate for yourself. Know who you are, advocate for others. I always say that I don't know how a good doctor can be a good doctor and advocate for their patients if they don't first know how to advocate for themselves, right? So find different ways in your life where you see that you might not be as strong, or you're not as an advocate for speaking up for yourself, and work on those things before you get to medicine. So yeah, thank you for coming to my TED Talk on mental health and resilience, because they had me in the bathroom crying last week, you guys. I was like, how the hell did I get here? I'm so stupid. I didn't learn anything. And then I came out, wiped my tears, and I was on the go. So, we get back up. So Miss K asks, coming from a low-income household, how did you keep up your motivation and self-confidence to get where you are today? Great question, which kind of just goes back to the whole spiel I just gave. Especially as a minority especially as a woman, especially as a first generation college student, let alone medical student. I had a lot of confidence to build in myself, right? These are 3 ticks against me that others are going to look at me as less competent, less knowledgeable. I got here based on affirmative action, you know, all of the stereotypes, right? So you have to build up yourself, and you have to know that if you have got to a certain point, you got there because of your hard work. And yes, maybe a little bit of luck, and yes, maybe a little bit of networking and whatnot, but you got here off of your own merit, right? So you have to stay the course. When you want something bad enough, you will make it happen. I always knew I wanted to be a doctor. I may not have always known exactly how to get there. It was, you know, it was an uphill battle as far as figuring it all out, because I didn't have anyone to hold my hand. I didn't have anyone who knew how to navigate the journey before me, which is why I do this and why I host Mentor Mondays and why I started my mentorship program, because the value of a good mentor, the value of somebody showing you the way and helping you climb up the ladder when you may not necessarily know how to reach the next spoke is really, really important. So all that being said, with will, perseverance, and resilience, all things are possible. And I have all of those things. And those are 3 things I never let go. So no matter how hard the journey got to medicine, and best believe it got really hard at points, you guys, it was never going to break me. You know, that last week when I was crying in the bathroom, that wasn't going to break me either. I came back the next day at 5 a.m. and I was ready to go, you know. So you have to know within your heart that something's for you and that nothing is going to stop you. So that's kind of, thank you for coming to my TED Talk again about the power of perseverance and resilience, and, you know, knowing at your core what you want to do with your life and setting goals and making them happen. So Ezekiel says, your answer really helped me understand what I should try to accomplish when looking for extracurricular experience. Of course. Hopefully it was clear. I'm trying to be a little more concise with my answers tonight, you guys, because you can see I can chat, right? I can chat. And sometimes it takes me so long to get through all the questions, and I don't want to not get through all the questions tonight. So I might be a little bit shorter than I typically have. But if you ever need clarification on anything I've said or stated before in response to a question, just please send a comment in the chat box and I'll clarify. So Miss K asks, in undergrad, did you take courses in every subject that was on the MCAT? Good question. So my kind of quick and dirty answer about MCAT course and courses and whatnot is that there are no required courses that you have to take in order to take the MCAT. Once again, let me repeat. There are no required college courses that you have to take in order to take the MCAT. The MCAT can be taken at any point with whatever courses. The thing that we aim to do with college courses is get you in the college courses that are tested on the MCAT, so that obviously you have the fundamentals, the knowledge to do well at the MCAT. Where prerequisite courses come into play is that medical school requires certain coursework. So medical school, in order to apply to medical school, you have to have taken physics and organic chemistry and all of that. But it's not required for the MCAT. So, but what I will say is that it helps to have taken those classes in studying for the MCAT, obviously, right? So you want to try to have taken your biologies, obviously, your psychology and sociology courses, introductory courses, as well as biochemistry. Those are courses that you should aim to have taken prior to the MCAT. They're going to help you significantly when studying for the MCAT to make it easier. And this is why, you guys, why we advise and why we say that it's not obviously required to major in a science major. It's not required to be a biology or chemistry or biochemistry major in order to eventually get to medical school, but it's super damn helpful, right? Because those majors require you to take all the classes that are on the MCAT as well as that are required for medical school. So if you major in music or, or physical science or something like that, you may have an uphill battle as far as you not only have to take the classes that are required for medical school, so you're eventually going to have to take the biochemistry or the organic chemistry, but more importantly, it's tested on the MCAT. And we all know that that test is huge in securing you admittance into medical school. So if you are going to take, an alternative major through undergrad or grad school, just make sure you're taking those classes that are required to get to medical school, but also will help you on the MCAT. So to your question, Miss K, did I take the courses? Yeah, I was a biology major. All of the classes that I was required to take as a biology major were tested on the MCAT. So it kind of, like I was obviously studying the stuff as I studied for the MCAT. So does medical school look at how long it took to graduate an undergrad? Do they care if students went part-time, full-time, or taken time off at all? Great question. Great question. So quick and dirty answer to that is yes, they do look at those things. They get transcripts from all your schools. They know exactly how long it took you to graduate. They know how, you have to send transcripts from every college you went to. If you were transferring, if you transferred one or more times to different colleges, you have to send them that information. So they know what your course was like to medical school. And best believe if there's any, if it's not clear in any way, you will be asked about it. Where are those 2 years between undergrad and medical school interviewing that are unaccounted for? What were you doing during that time, Miss K? What did you do for those 2 years? Why did you transfer colleges in junior year? Why did you take a year off? All of those things will be asked. Does it matter in the grand scheme? Probably not, but make sure you have all of those answers ready at the ready to answer. If you have any red flags or blips in your application, if you have any, transfers from a different school for academic reasons, for instance, if you have any time off because of grades or something, anything that academically looks like it was a challenge, you need to have explanations for those things, honest explanations, but you need to have it ready to explain because it will most likely get asked and brought up. So yes, they do look at those things. Do they care? It depends. That's my answer. Depends on what exactly were the circumstances. If it was because of academic challenges, if it was because you were working full time to get yourself through college, so you were part time and that's why it took longer. Those are two different things, right? So what I would say is that yes, they know all the ins and outs of your academic journey prior to medical school, and it may matter depending on what your reasons are for certain steps being taken. Hello, Allie. Well, welcome to Mentor Mondays. Thanks, Lamar. I'm dropping gems, I guess. If you guys appreciate anything I'm saying, if you like anything I'm saying, if you're getting any value out of what's being discussed on Mentor Mondays, along the bottom on the chat box, you can see a smiley face or the dollar sign. Drop a super chat, super sticker, drop a smiley. Let me know you guys are here with me and that you're enjoying the content. This keeps it going for you guys every month for me to be able to answer your questions live and help you out. Also, be sure to check out the description box either now or at some point after the live finishes. And be sure to check out my official mentorship program if you are looking for a mentor to help you on the road to medicine. If you are looking for any additional services, you guys, you don't have to be a member of my mentorship program to purchase any additional services. I do one-on-one advising for general sessions, MCAT strategy, personal statement revising. It's also interview season coming up. If you need any mock interview work, I got you. So check out my website. Let me know if I can help you in anything in your journey. So back to the questions. Miracle asks, ooh, I already see the question coming. My mentees would be able to answer this. So Miracle asks, how should we as pre-meds decipher applying to ND or DO schools? You guys, the reason I got all hype is because my mentorship program, we just had our monthly session. We do monthly workshops this past week. And I broke down the difference between MD and DO medical schools and why that is important. So Miracle asks a very critical question, which is MD versus DO. What's good? What's this about? Does it matter to us at all? And what I always pride myself on being transparent on my YouTube, in my advising and all of that. And my mentees will tell you I gave a very long spiel. I'll break it down concisely tonight. But for everyone in the live who doesn't know, there are two different types of medical schools. One is called allopathic medical schools and one is called osteopathic medical schools. At allopathic medical schools, you get a MD degree, a doctor of medicine. At DO medical schools, at osteopathic medical schools, you get a doctor of osteopathic medicine, a DO degree. They are both doctors. There honestly isn't much difference between them besides a few different things in their training, in their medical curriculum. So allopathic medical schools are typically the more traditional medicine, focusing on traditional medicine, drugs, pharmacology, those type of things. Osteopathic is more holistic, looking at the individual, looking at naturopathic medicine, looking at natural healing, manipulation of the joints, things like that, like just more like maybe non-pharmaceutical type of medicine. Nothing inherently different between these two degrees. Both are doctors, both do the same thing after, both, are on equal footing. But what I do always say is that unfortunately in medicine, this is a very historically prestigious type of career. There's always a hierarchy in medicine. And the unfortunate reality is that there's kind of this preference for MDs versus DOs. And I think that preference comes from MD schools have typically been more competitive to get into. DO schools, on average, I think have lower kind of statistics to get in. So not as high or competitive GPAs or MCAT scores or whatnot. So I think that has perpetuated this kind of sense of prestige among allopathic MD schools over DO schools. And there's this sentiment that DOs aren't as smart or as knowledgeable or as, highly sought after as MD schools. For me, I think it's a crock of shit. I think it's a way to continue to be divisive in medicine. But the unfortunate reality is that it does exist. And we know that when we work and live under certain systems, they're good to just be aware of so that and that you make decisions that are in line with that knowledge in mind. So I would say as pre-meds, don't let it dissuade you from going to certain schools. If there's a DO school that you love and fits you well, is where you want to be, I would not advise you to not pick that school because it's a DO school. I would say no matter the school, go with what works for you at your core, fit your personal mission and your pockets, and let that be that. You will do well and you will succeed no matter what type of school you go to. And hopefully we can continue to break down these stereotypes and these barriers that exist, this prejudice that exists in medicine when it comes to MD versus DO. I think we're doing really good at it, but I do think it still exists. It's kind of like the elephant in the room, especially in certain specialties. So it's not like that in all specialties. The more competitive specialties, maybe the surgeries, the dermatologies and stuff like that, you'll see that preference a lot more. So I would say don't let it deter you from anything you want to do. Just know it exists. And if there's different strategic decisions that you should make in line with what you want, then do so, if you catch my drift. So thank you, Miss K. I'm glad you enjoyed my answers. I try to be as open and honest with you guys. I'm here to help you and answer any questions you have. We also have this live poll going, you guys, in the chat. So I asked the question, is becoming a doctor worth the amount of time it takes, the education and training that it takes? It takes 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of medical school. That's 8 years, plus 3 to 4 years minimum of residency training. We're talking 11 to 12 years minimum. And we all know that coming in non-traditional, coming in with gap years is becoming increasingly more common. So add on a few plus years to that, right? So we're coming in with a lot of background and a lot of education and training. Do you think it's worth it in this pursuit of becoming a doctor? The majority is still sticking with yes, it is worth it, but we do have some no's and we have quite a few undecided. So hopefully I can answer any questions you guys have to give you a little bit more clarity on if this is the journey for you or not. So keep your questions coming. I love it. All right, so Shraddha, is that how I say it? Hopefully. Shraddha asks, it's been really hard trying to get experiences due to COVID closures. Do you have any advice for finding any? And also, how can we explain this to medical schools? Trust and believe, you guys, everybody's well aware of the impact that COVID has had on life, right? Especially in medicine. I was out of medical school for months and not being able to see patients as a future doctor in training, so like best believe they're aware that if they're having to pull out individuals who are there to literally become doctors, that absolutely the pre-med students or the volunteers are being shunned or being pushed away. So everyone understands that. Do not get yourself, in a rut about it, because it's a national thing. It's a pandemic. It's worldwide, but at the national level for U.S. medical school applicants, everyone has been impacted, you guys. So do not think that, oh my God, it's just me. No, they're well aware. So just obviously, I would say to try, especially as the world is opening back up, we're having students back in our clinics. We're having volunteers come back that are vaccinated and whatnot, especially now that things are understaffed. Volunteers are crucial at this time. So if you're vaccinated, if you are, feeling confident or safe to be back in the setting, definitely go do cold calling where you call up clinics or urgent cares. Hey, do you need any volunteers? Whatever the case may be, and try. I think it's worth trying because you might not just find something, but also I think it's important to show that you were committed to trying to find something. So when you're discussing the impact that COVID had on you as a pre-medical student, you can mention that, I called 15 clinics in my neighborhood or in my college campus or whatever, and they unfortunately were all not allowing pre-medical students, vaccinated or unvaccinated, to volunteer. But, I tried my best. That's very different than someone saying, oh, I didn't know, what was going on. And if your interviewer asks you, oh, did you call any clinics in your neighborhood? No, I didn't think to do that. That's two very different initiatives, right? Two very different approaches for an individual who is affected by COVID. So I would say try to do your best to find things. If you can't, then everybody has been affected and you tried your best. Try to compensate with other things, right? So, try to fill other volunteer opportunities that are existing right now. They don't have to necessarily be clinical, but things are opening back up. So hopefully you guys have a lot more luck in the coming months. So Leanne Sarah asks, does anyone know any master's S&P that take around a 2.4 undergrad, please? I'm not sure. If anyone has an answer for Leanne Sarah, drop it in the comments. Leanne, let's talk. How about send me a message or add me on Instagram and send me a DM. Let's chat more individually about your circumstances and your grades. I'd love to chat with you just more personally about that. Sometimes you guys, I'm going to just defer to let's chat personally or send me a DM just so I can cater it more individually to you and your personal circumstances and keep it more general for the audience here, things that can benefit us all. So Oren asks, how does Caribbean schools fit into the DO and MD debate in terms of prejudice? Okay, great question, Oren. So what I would say, and I'm going to give it to you guys raw and dirty, what I would say in the debate is how I would work in the Caribbean schools into that debate is if we're talking about a hierarchy, and this is my personal opinion, what I've seen to be true as far as the bias and the prejudice and whatnot, is that if there was a hierarchy, it would be MD, DO, Caribbean medical schools. So overall, and I tell this to all my mentees and anyone I'm advising, if you can, in your best power, and try your damnedest to go to a U.S. medical school, you guys. Please try to go to a U.S. medical school if you are a U.S., if you're a resident here, if you live here, if you want to go to medical school here, right? It's different if there's somebody who wants to go to school in the Caribbean or is from the Caribbean and goes there. But if you are a U.S. native and you want to go to medical school in the United States, please try it in your best efforts to go to medical school here. There is a lot of obstacles. There are a lot of obstacles and challenges for a person, a U.S. individual who goes to the Caribbean for medical training and then tries to come back to be a doctor in the United States. It is a very difficult journey, you guys. More difficult than the journey already is, right? But it's hard. And I think that there's a lot of, I'm going to try to say this in the least offensive way possible, but I think there's a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? I think there's a lot of like preying on individuals, and I hate to say it in that way, but I'm just going to call a spade a spade. I think there's a layer of preying on individuals who these Caribbean medical schools know that certain individuals want so badly to become doctors, and that it's such a hard process, and their MCAT might not be good, their GPA might not be good. They've tried to apply to medical school in the United States. They've tried 2 cycles and it hasn't worked, and I'm just going to go to the Caribbean to get my medical school training because they'll accept me. They know that, you guys. And not only are they for-profit medical schools, but they know that for some people, it's like a last-ditch effort to become a doctor. And while I think, yes, that works for some folks, there's a lot of cons that come with that, right? And so I just don't like the predatory aspect of some of the programs in the Caribbean, and especially on minority students. I'm really big in the diversity and inclusion space, and I see a lot of minorities kind of falling victim to those traps. And I would just plead with you to, there's other ways to make yourself a more competitive applicant to try to get into a U.S. medical school to make it happen. So please reach out to me if you find yourself in that predicament. If you are questioning maybe going to the Caribbean for medical school training and whatnot, please reach out to me. Let me know. Maybe we can work something out. We can do an advising session or something like that. Because I really do think it's in your best interest to, if possible, go to a U.S. medical school if you want to eventually practice in the U.S. So that's what I will say about that. Catherine asks, tips for deciding on a specialty. What can I do to narrow my options down? Catherine, I'm assuming you're a first-year medical student. Maybe I'm getting the vibe that maybe you're in medical school. But for picking a specialty, what I would say is go in open-minded, you guys. Even if at the pre-med level, you think you're interested in a certain specialty, great to have it in mind and whatnot so you can explore that more closely. But go into medical school open-minded, because you never know what you might like. Especially, you don't really have exposure. Well, most of us do not have like firsthand exposure of what it's going to be like to be a doctor before medical school. And you might find that what you thought you wanted to be absolutely does not fit your goals in life, or your goals for family life, or, lifestyle and things like that. So go in open-minded, because you don't want to close off any doors that you're not even aware might be open. So go in open-minded. And what I say is like, go in like open-minded and do like a process of elimination approach. So have everything on the table. And as you rotate through or have experiences that you either love or hate, knock things off. And then as you go through your second, third, year of medical school, you will find what's left on your list and really start to figure out, like, after all of this training, what really is important to me at my core. And you'll see, it'll be there and you won't be able to deny it. And it might match up with what you came in thinking, or it might be completely different. But that's the purpose of going in open-minded, because you do not want to skew your experience of medical school by coming in with one thing, and then you're already functioning under a like rule out approach. You've already ruled out everything before you got to medical school, and that's going to skew your experiences. You're going to find all the things you hate about the things because you've already ruled them out in your mind. So go in open-minded and find the thing that you really enjoy day in and day out, because that's going to be the thing that keeps you going, and that you'll have to do for the rest of your life. So yes. Okay, so let's see. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning into Mentor Mondays. We are back. We have about 10 minutes left, so I'm going to start flying through some of these questions. Be sure to continue to drop your questions in the chat box. I will get to them. Also, take a look at our live poll going on right now, where I asked, do you think becoming a doctor is worth the amount of time it takes? All this education and training we're discussing, do you think it's worth it? Yes, no, or if you are unsure, let me know as well. So, Miracle asked, how should I begin to prepare to study for the MCAT while taking prereqs? Great question. I would say I would actually defer to my YouTube video. If you guys have not checked out my MCAT series, please take a look at that. I detail my MCAT study plan in detail, which pretty much still holds true, although I filmed it, probably a year ago or almost a year ago. All of the things, all of the recommendations I state in the video still hold true. So what I typically say is that, while you're taking prereqs, it's really hard because you're balancing multiple different things. So time management is going to become crucial. But overall, I always say you have to treat the MCAT like a full-time job. So if you have a full-time job because you're in classes, that's your full-time job, you're going to be having two jobs, right? So you have to make time for the MCAT. It is not a test that can be a back burner type of studying type of thing. Absolutely not going to work. It has to be the priority. We all know the importance of the MCAT when it comes to applying for medical school. So you have to give it your due diligence and time and attention. So 4 to 6 months, I recommend for timeline as far as studying for it. And then my three major things is content review. I use Khan Academy. I think Khan Academy is great. I highly recommend it. So content review, questions, and practice tests. So content review, Khan Academy, questions, UWorld. Have to do UWorld, you guys. I must recommend it. I think it is it makes or breaks a lot of people, I think, performance. And then practice tests. You have to take practice tests, you guys. I know they're intimidating. I know people don't want to know like the score and how they did and all of that, but those are the three major components. And I think a good MCAT study plan. So you have to find a way to work those three things into your timeline. And then obviously sitting down and making a plan and sticking to it is the critical component of the whole plan. So those are kind of my quick and dirty MCAT strategies. So thank you so much, Miracle. I appreciate the compliments. So Oren asks, how does double majoring affect medical school admissions? I'm not sure it does. I think it's a bonus. I think it looks good, especially if the two majors are, it make you a good applicant if there are things that complement each other very well. But I don't think I think it's just another selling piece. I don't think it disadvantages anyone in any way, unless their grades were not as strong because of a double major. So do you mentor medical students or just pre-meds? I'm working on ERAS now. Of course I can mentor medical students. I as well am working on ERAS. So if there's something you feel like you can gain from me, that is the purpose of my mentorship program. Obviously it's catered toward pre-medical students. But if there are medical students, first year, second years, third years, anyone, I guess, behind me, that feel as though I can offer them any value to their journey, it is open for anyone. It also is pre-medicine as far as I obviously am most knowledgeable about the journey to medical school, but a lot other healthcare professions follow a very similar path as far as the journey to their respective healthcare career. Dental school, PA school, all of those processes are very similar. So obviously I cater to medical school, but if there's any of you out there who are interested in other healthcare professions that feel as though you can get value from me, as you know, of course, as well. So I take all. I'm an all-inclusive mentor, you guys. And obviously, I pride myself on being a good mentor and being available. So I will max myself out at a certain capacity for mentees. So I do pride myself on that. I don't think a mentor who's overcommitted, like overloaded, or doesn't have the capacity to care for their mentees, you know, personally, I don't think that benefits anybody. So I will, you know, respectfully decline if I feel like I'm not the best mentor for somebody, or I can try to find you a better mentor if I feel like I wouldn't value you, you know, I wouldn't be as much value to you. So, okay. Pre-med college student here. Hey guys, hey all my pre-meds. Oh my goodness, I love you guys. I remember being a pre-med. A wee pre-med lad a few years ago. Okay, Louisa asks, Julia, I'm a Rutgers student. Go Rutgers. Considering the master's program as a way to boost my GPA in order to apply to medical school. Do you know if my school accepts? Yeah, Louisa, send me a direct message. We could chat more personally about the school in particular you're asking about, because yes, I can give you more personal information about that. Ms. K asks, what should be considered when looking into master's programs or applying immediately to medical school? If I understand the question correctly, or applying immediately to medical school. I think when looking into master's programs in general, you need to do something that I don't think so this is where, like, I think people need to be strategic, right? We need to be strategic in doing things. I always say, don't do things just to do things, right? Don't go get a master's just to get a master's. There should be a strategic reason why you're doing so, whether it's to bring up your GPA because your undergraduate GPA isn't strong. If your undergraduate GPA is strong, okay, so then the master's might be to make you a more competitive applicant, to give you more time to take the MCAT because your MCAT isn't strong. The question should be, what is the master's needed for, right? Because you need to be able to answer those things. You have to be strategic. We're talking about time, years, and money, right? So a master's is not required, but if you need it for the GPA boost, if you need it for time because you need to retake the MCAT, if you want it for competitiveness because you want to go to a great medical school or get significant financial aid, you need to figure those things out, right? So that's what I would say you need to consider when looking into master's programs. As far as then which master's programs, that just goes as far as what are you looking for? Do you want to be geographically close to where you are? Do you want to go to a prestigious program, a top 10 program, because the name will carry you? You know, when applying for medical school, like these are the type of considerations, right? So those are like the strategy in it, right? Because everyone wants to talk about master's program these days. And I myself did a master's, right? But I did it because I failed the MCAT and needed more time, you know? I needed a plan B to get to medical school. So that was my plan B. It doesn't necessarily have to be a master's program these days. So I would just say, figure out the strategy in it, figure out why you want it, and then what program fits you best for what you're looking for. And as far as the debate versus gap years versus no gap years, I'm an advocate for gap years if the strategy works, if there are things that you can do in that time that make you a better applicant. I also just think that coming into medical school a little bit older, a little bit more mature with a little bit life experience is also always a plus. Okay, I'm getting through it. Okay. Do you have any faculty or directors yes, Louisa, contact me about, you know, the school you're referring to. We can talk more personally about that. Reach out to me on Instagram. So at the Julia Carter, I'll type it in the chat box. Send me a direct message, and this goes for anyone. Send me a direct message and ask those questions so we could chat more personally about the school you're referring to. Okay, so Latoya asks, I'm afraid of taking the MCAT. I've already pushed my date back once. How do I get the courage? Great question. Great question. Louisa, if you don't have Instagram, send me an email. I'm going to put my email in the chat. Send me an email. Okay, so pushing back the MCAT, how do you get the courage to take it? You guys, preparation is everything when we're talking about the MCAT, right? So you have to be prepared. The courage piece, you get the courage, you get the confidence when you're prepared, right? You won't feel unprepared if you do the preparation, the proper preparation, right? So that all comes with studying, having a good plan laid out for you, setting a hard deadline, making it happen. When you do all of those things, when you take practice tests, when you start hitting your target scores on your practice tests, these are all things that will build up your courage and confidence and get you to go in there and take it like you're ready, right? So you have to, the MCAT is a beast, you guys, and you have to have a plan to tackle it, which is why I harp so much on sitting down and creating a strategic plan for the MCAT, because you cannot tackle it all willy-nilly. Oh, I'm going to do this one day, no, you need a plan, like a structured plan to tackle the MCAT. Every day you need to know what you're studying, when you're going to take practice tests, how many questions you're doing a day, which content review you're reviewing that day. You have to be so organized, you guys, and you have to be assessing your progress every step of the way. You need to be taking 4 to 6 practice tests. If you've only taken 1 or 2 practice tests, I do not want to hear that you're going in to take the MCAT. I don't, you guys. Like, we need to like be more, and I've learned from my own experience, and that's why I'm so hard about it, because when you really, like the second time, when you really sit down and do it the right way, you will not have to take it multiple times. You will not have to possibly push it back, right? You have to stop and take a breath and really do it right the first time. Do the studying right, take your practice test, do it in a very systematic approach, so that when you are ready, when that test date comes, you're ready and confident. You've already taken 4 practice tests. You already hit your target score. You're going to go in there and beast it because you're so used to it, right? What I will say about pushing it back and getting courage and whatnot is that do not go into a test. All that being said, do not go into an MCAT test and into a testing center and take it if you're not ready. The caveat and all that I've said is that do not take it before you're ready. You do not want to go in there and not do well, right? But how you find out you're not ready is via practice tests. So you have to be assessing yourself, engaging your performance to see if you're ready. If you are finding that you're not progressing on your practice tests or hitting near your target scores or whatnot, or making significant progress along the way, that is a fundamental study problem. There's something wrong in the plan. There's something wrong in the timeline. There's something wrong in the approach, right? That needs to be changed at the fundamentals. But you should not have to be pushing your tests out weeks or months and months if you are properly planning. So that's why I really harp on creating a very detailed, very structured MCAT study plan, okay? Obviously, push it back if you have to, but I also really want you to stand firm in picking a date according to your plan. So if you create a 4-month study plan and you pick the date at the end of the 4 months, make it as if that date is, you have to take it come hell or high water, right? One thing psychologically we mess ourselves up on is that thinking that these dates are flexible because, oh, we can log into the system and push the date a week back or a month back and I get more time. No, there's something psychologically that rewires us, right? When we know that deadline isn't really a hard deadline, right? It doesn't push us as hard to do the things leading up to it. So when you make that a hard deadline and you stick to your study plan, you will find that you will not have to move your dates or move the test as frequently, right? Obviously, never take it if you're not ready. If you have to push it, But with standardized tests, I always say that we're never going to feel fully ready, right? There's always more you can learn. There's always more questions you can do, more content you can review. You should be doing practice tests to see if you're hitting where you want to be, then go in that testing center and take it, okay? So that's what I say about the MCAT. Okay, you got this, Latoya. Do not, I'm being tough, but also you got this. So grind it out and you got it. You have the confidence, you have the courage, you've done the preparation, but just stay the course and don't push it if you don't need to, and use practice tests to really assess whether your performance is improving, is progressive, and if you can get to the point you want to get to go in there and take it. Let's chat too. Send me a message. I'd love to hear why you pushed it back and how it's going. Maybe if there's something we could tweak as far as your plan goes, let's chat about it. So Kay Scott asks, I'm taking my MCAT in 2 weeks, and UWorld and 2 practice tests a week have been key for me. Couldn't agree more. You see what I'm saying, you guys? You see what I'm saying? Those big 3, my big 3, content review, UWorld or questions, and practice tests. Incorporate those 3 things into your study plan. Stick to a study plan and you will be successful. I promise you. Everybody's going to have it at a different timeline, but those are the 3 crucial components of a good MCAT study plan, you guys. So be sure to incorporate those things in some way or form. Mr. Bonner, I can mentor you. I can mentor teachers. Yes. Okay, so how well do medical schools train students in medical ethics from a pre-med philosophy student? In medical ethics, it's huge. It's huge. So for example, I'm getting ready to take my second board exam of 3 that I have to take to become licensed in the United States. And the second one is 15 or 20% ethics, medical ethics. So we talk about all things medical ethics, autonomy, patients having the right to autonomy over their bodies, justice, beneficence, doing what's best in our best interest of our patients, do no harm. These are the core principles of medical ethics, and they're highly tested on our board exams. So we're taught them throughout the course of medical school in different ways in the curriculum and in the clinical experiences. So yes, the overarching theme is that I think that they're well tested and well incorporated into curriculum. I'm sure some schools emphasize them more than others, but overall they all are incorporated into the curriculum because they're tested on board exams. So you will have that curriculum piece across the board. So, all right, we're getting to the last bit of our questions, you guys, and then I'm closing out because if you've never been to my Mentor Mondays, you guys know I can go for hours, and that's simply, we got things to do. People got MCATs to study for. I got boards to study for. So we're going to keep it moving. Okay. What did you find most helpful for your shelf exams if you have time to discuss it? Neonika, I think. Great question. So she is asking about shelf exams. So shelf exams are exams taken throughout medical school, usually your first, second, and third year. At the end of every system you study. So at the end of every block or curriculum piece you study, you take a comprehensive exam called a shelf exam. So what my quick and dirty answer to that is NBMEs. So NBMEs, I'm sure you've heard of them if you're a medical student. And this kind of goes to pre-med students as well studying for the MCAT. Practice tests don't go anywhere, you guys. For standardized tests in general, practice tests are key, right? That's why they're a part of my big 3, content review, questions, and practice tests. So Neonika, for my shelf exams, I had the most success when I took practice exams, when I took the NBME mocks. All the blocks that I did, all of the mocks, that I did that I got through all of the UWorld questions, I honored those shelf exams. So there's something to how many questions you're doing, how many practice tests you're doing, as far as correlating with your success on the actual test. These are proven facts, right? This is why the MCAT, they push things like UWorld questions and taking practice tests. These are the measures that directly correlate with your performance. So for shelf exams, practice tests, and UWorld questions. Also, AMBOSS is new on the scene, if you've heard of it, Neonika. AMBOSS is new on the scene as well. It's overload with UWorld and AMBOSS, but if you can find a way to do them, I think the more questions, the better. Take practice tests. Okay, last few questions, you guys. Did I ever take mammalian physiology in undergrad? Very specific, no. I did not ever take mammalian physiology. I don't recall. It's been a while. I don't recall mammalian physiology. No, sorry. Okay, let me scan. Okay. Make sure I got all my questions. I am 17 and I am from Romania. Welcome from Romania. I love it. We are international on Mentor Mondays right now. Can I apply for medical school? Of course you can, right? You're just going to have a different process potentially. So you would be like an international graduate. So you would just have probably different prerequisites and different circumstances that you would have to apply under. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm not super familiar with the process that one has to go through as far as when applying from an international, from the international space. So maybe next month I can get you more information on that. But I know that there are plenty of individuals that come to medical school from all over the world that come to medical school in the United States. So I absolutely know it's possible. I just know that some people go through different processes and different journeys. So I can try to get you that information for next month if you stick with us. So last two questions. I really struggled during M1 and just started M2. Congratulations to you. So we have a medical student in the house. Do you have any study advice for in-house exams? Great question. So I was just discussing before that medical school is tough, and I struggled during my M1 year as well. So I can totally relate. It took me a long time to get my footing in medical school and really figure out, how do I digest all this information? How do I take these exams? How do I do well? How do I pass? It is such a steep learning curve in medical school. So give yourself the grace and the space to learn and to adjust and to, not have it all together right away. Congrats to you for sticking the course and for having resilience and asking these questions, because I think it's really important to seek help when you're struggling. So as far as in-house exams, honestly, and it's going to be very cliche answer, but really learn the curriculum. I know that it's tough because you're taking exams so quickly and there's so much material on one exam that it's you have to go through things quickly in order to get it all done. But honestly, if you have to incorporate outside resources, if you have to, go to the textbooks or go to YouTube or something to solidify those concepts, to solidify that understanding, you have to do it. The problem when I'm reflecting back on my M1 year and that I finally started to realize during the M2 is that I was really just trying to memorize things for the test, really trying to just fit all the information in here so that I can take the test. And I was not really understanding what I was absorbing and learning. And that really screwed me over when it came time to study for USMLE Step 1, because that test is going to inherently test your understanding. So I think when it comes to in-house exams, that is where you really have the time and opportunity to learn it right the first time. So whatever that may be, whether it's Boards and Beyond, whether it's YouTube, whether it's textbook, whatever type of learner you are, I would just say find the resources that you need to really get that understanding, that physiology, that pathophys, that learning down, because it'll help you more in the long run. How important is research during medical school? A lot of my classmates are saying that you need publications. Absolutely false. No one needs publications. Does it help? Absolutely, especially if you want to pursue a career in academia, if you want to end up at an academic institution, at a big research center. No one needs research. I think it only helps you though if you have the time to do research, to pump out publications, I think it could be a very great benefit for your curriculum, for your CV or your resume. But I would say, especially if you are struggling with the curriculum of medical school, do not overload yourself thinking about research, because you need to get to that point, right? You need to pass your classes. You need to pass these shelf exams, try to honor them. You need to be strong academically before you start putting more on your plate to boost up your resume, right? So focus on your academics first and foremost, and everything else will fall in line. You do not want to take away from your academics by thinking about, beefing up your CV or your resume, and you're only putting yourself deeper in a hole academically. I found myself in that predicament first year as well, being too involved extracurricularly, and it was at the expense of my already not really great academics. So don't run into those issues. Last question, you guys, because I cannot help my freaking self. I always thought GPA can balance low MCAT score and vice versa. However, an advisor told me GPA is always more weighted compared to MCAT and anything else when applying. What do you say to this? Samuel, I think everyone's going to advise differently. What I would say is that MCAT and GPA are I would say that they're pretty evenly matched. I think that they're weighed pretty heavily. I also just read an article from the AAMC about the correlation between MCAT and GPA when thinking about potential medical student performance. So admissions are crunching these numbers behind the scene, right? They're looking at your GPA and your MCAT, and there are literal charts that graph based on your GPA and your MCAT score, where are you likely to fall performance-wise in medical school? So that goes to show that those things are pretty equally yoked, right? They are evaluating both of those measures equally. I would say that I think that, I don't really think one or more is more important than the other. I would stand by that. I think that they're equally yoked, in my opinion, and based on what I've read and talked with admissions about. What is the minimum age to go to medical school? There is no minimum age. You just have to have the prerequisites. So you need to have a 4-year undergraduate degree. So whether you have that degree at 18, whether you have that degree at 21, 22, 17, whatever the case may be. There's a lot of accelerated programs these days, which I urge you guys to check out. There are a lot of, combined undergrad and medical school type of programs that you maybe do 2 years of undergraduate college and then you're funneled into medical school. So I've had classmates come into medical school with me at like 19 years old. They weren't even able to drink and go out to like our social events at the bar because they were underage. So there is no age minimum, but there's just a minimum as far as like the prerequisites you need to have had like an undergraduate degree. Yeah, if you finish college at 19, yeah. So like you could come to medical school at 19. I had plenty of classmates who were like 19, 18 years old and whatnot. So, all right, you guys, we are at almost over an hour. So that concludes officially, I got through all the questions. That officially concludes Mentor Mondays this month. I hope I answered all of your questions. Be sure you guys hit me up on Instagram at @TheJuliaCarter. I'm going to put it in the chat once again. I will also put my email. Be sure you guys email me or, sorry, I cannot multitask, obviously. Or send me an email if you have any questions. If you have any, anything I didn't answer, or you wanted to ask me something more personally about your journey, let me know. Oh, I just saw a comment. Akimini, you're taking the MCAT on Friday. You got this. Everybody leave some hands, some hearts for Akimini and anyone else who is taking the MCAT, taking any other important tests, taking any other major steps in this journey. We are here with you. We are cheering for you. We're praying for you. We need a support system, So yeah, be sure you guys send me a DM on Instagram. Send me a email. Check out my website for my pre-medical mentorship program. If you feel as though I can be somebody that provide you with any value or any other, personalized support for you. I am taking on new mentees. If not a part of my program, you can also just request any additional services that I offer. So if you wanted to sit down with me and do a one-on-one advising session where we really get into the thick of your journey and what you need to be successful on this path, let's do so. If you want to sit down and create a MCAT study plan with me, let's do it. If you want to do mock interviewing, if you have personal statements you want me to revise or help you build, all of those things, whatever you guys need in your journey to medicine, I am here to help you with. I've navigated it. I've got a lot of great, obviously, knowledge to drop, gems to drop with you guys. I really try to pride myself on being a good mentor to the mentees and to the individuals who seek my services. So definitely reach out to me, check out my website, see what I offer. Let me know if you have any questions. On that note, we will conclude Mentor Mondays, you guys. We will be back next month. I'm looking at September 20th, same time and place with yours truly. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Have a great week. Be safe, be well, wear your masks. COVID is still real. The hospitals are full. I am in there working with the patients, so I know it, I see it. So please don't underestimate, this virus is still out here and causing havoc. So thank you guys so much for a great Mentor Mondays. I love you all. I will see you next time. Be safe, be well. Bye, guys.